Hello everyone. So today we'll talk about Reduxjs toolkit and we'll see an example by using that thing in with the React application. So we start our application by using the Redux and we'll try to update our Redux application by taking it up with the Redux toolkit, right? Without wasting our time, let's go and see how exactly to do that thing. So file and there are multiple things that I don't need. So from this div to the last, I simply delete everything. I don't need any state as of now guys, so I simply look it like this and I do my simple h1. So guys, I do this thing and I should see some there onto my browser. Let's go and check it out how it exactly looks on my browser. So I can see it says hi testing Redux Toolkit 2023 demo. So that's what I need guys. So my application is working totally fine the way I want, and it's time for me to just do a little thing into my VS Code and see how I can set up my Redux. So guys, when I set up my Redux, I hope so you already have a clarity about it. If you don't have, please look into my another video that I have given in the top, right? So coming up here, what I need to do is I need to set up my Redux. And guys, when I set up my Redux, I want to play around with one folder only. So I will create one folder with the name Redux. So guys, when we talk about Redux, I hope so we talk about actions. We talk about actions, and guys, for that I'm creating action.js file. We talk about reducer. So I create one file reducer.js. We talk about our store, and guys, for that thing I want to create index.js. All right, so what I have to do is guys, I need to create my Redux setup. First of all, after creating my Redux, I will talk about my React application, how to configure that thing. So before I set up my Redux guys, I need some dependencies, right? As per my package.json file guys, till now what I have in my application is just I have these two dependencies, React and React DOM. Guys, I need my Redux, right? So guys, we need to do install about it. So I write npm install Redux. So guys, when I do npm install Redux, it will simply install Redux to my application. So you can see also the package.json file gets updated, right? So after this thing guys, I will see something about my Redux as well, right? So guys, now if I look for my package.json file, I should show me the Redux is actually installed to my application, right? All right, just a miss guys, I've made some silly mistake here. The thing is I had to go to that folder, so I have to just go to cd and this react Toolkit. Now I have to actually install Redux. So I made small thing here, so that node modules folder get created here. I don't need this one. Okay. Now you will see my dependency gets updated here with the React DOM and React. You can see the Redux has actually been installed to our application, and that makes sense to us. Now it's my time to play around with my actions, reducer, and index. So guys, before I do anything right, I think so that I have to plan accordingly what actions I have in my application. So guys, I would talk about the counter here as of now. So I will choose a counter as application there, right? The counter variable will be there. So I can do counter, right? There are different ways that I can do counter. Number one, increase by one. Number two, decrease by one. That is number two step, guys. I could have something decrease by n, and I could have increase by n. All right, so this is the all four action guys I should have with my application. So I'm planning about this four things. So let's see guys what exactly I need to play around with these actions, right? So I'm going to talk about counter actions. And guys, when I do increase by one, I think so that we know don't need any payload about this thing. So I simply say const increase, and this const increase says that I need to simply have one arrow function that should return an object, and that object should return something a type. And guys, for this type I will simply say increase. That's pretty thing guys we need actually. So I will simply copy paste here, and one more copy paste here, right? So guys, I have to update this with a decrease. So I will write decrease. Here I should write increase by n. Here I should write decrease by n, right? So guys, when I say n, I need a variable of n value. So here also I need n here, and also with type guys, I have to do something with my payload. A copy, a paste it here as well. Achieve the variable name guys, it has to be decrease. It has increase by n. It has by n, that is decrease. I hope it makes sense to all of you. And guys, the last is that we have to do export, right? So guys, we have to do export increase, we have to export decrease, we have to do export increase by n, and do export decrease by n. We are good to go with the actions guys. Coming to my reducer file guys, what we need is like we need our reducer to have this all actions, and for their action I have to update my state. So guys, for this thing I will take about my const state, that is my initial state. I simply talk about initial state with capital S, and guys we simply say it as a value to be 0 as a default. Then guys we have to export something, a function from here. So we give it only one function, export default, I like it as reducer. Okay, so guys we have to default export this thing. So I can write this as well, or you can just write const reducer equals to and function. That function accepts state that as the initial value as my initial state, and I also have an action here. So we have to do a switch about it guys. So we write a switch and we write simple action dot type. If the case is increment, then guys we have to play around with something. We have to actually return whatever is there in the state. Actually that is nothing, but I should update a value with a state dot value plus 1, right? And I should write a case 2, that is decrease, and for that decrease guys I copy paste here. I simply say whatever the state value, just make it -1. The next is increase and decrease again guys, so I will make a copy of this two lines again. Just write case increase by n and decrease by n. In this case guys, when we say increase by n, we have to write the state value should get updated plus the action dot payload. I'll copy this thing, update it as well. And at then guys we should have a default case. So we are default, just return the same state what we have here, return. That's all guys we need in our reducer. We have to just write export default, and we should write our reducer. That's all guys I need with my reducer. I hope so we can understand this is our initial state, right? And guys, then we have multiple actions that we have increase, decrease, increase by n, decrease by n. And now it's for me to create my store. For creating a store guys, we have to choose one function, create store, that comes from my React, not React guys, Redux. To come up, let me just take it from my Redux automatically. So let me write import this thing from Redux. Guys, when I write this thing, now I can see create store. So we have to create a store. So we simply write const and we write store equals to the create store method. The create store method takes up reducer. So we simply pass my reducer here. That's all. Time for me to export my reducer. Our state export default state, that is our store. That's all guys we need in our application till now. I hope so guys it makes sense to all of you that how exactly we have to create our reducer, the actions and the store file, right? That's all guys, first of all with my Redux. All right, so what is the next step we have to do guys? So after completing my Redux guys, now is my time to actually connect my Redux application to my React, right? Because my Redux is a part of JavaScript, right? And I need to connect this thing with my React. So React needs some another library here. So in that case we need one more package installation. So I write npm install. Now it is React Redux. Make sure guys that now we have another package to be installed. Till now guys we have three packages: React, React DOM, and Redux. Now is another one that I'm going to take over is React Redux. So guys, remember this thing very clearly. Whenever I play with my Redux, it is always talking about the state management. But guys, until unless you don't write React Redux, you can't actually get the data from that state, from that store to your React application. So guys, I use React Redux into my packages file. So that's what I need as of now. Now I have to play around with my main.jsx file so that I can update my app, and that app has to be surrounded by one provider. So when I say provider, we all mean to say that our store has to give access to each and every component that comes or resides in the my app component. So I simply write here provider guys, the provider tag I write here, or provider component I talk, right? The provider comes from my React Redux. If it is not possible, I should write it from my own side. So I write here import, I write provider, and it should come from my React Redux. So writing this way guys, it will actually help you to get the things done easy. So now guys, when talk about provider, I simply put my app component inside it. Now guys, when I put my app component inside it, the provider says that I need to pass something, a store variable as my attribute. Guys, for this thing I'm going to take a store from my application that I have made with my Redux folder. So my Redux folder contains index.js file. That index.js file returns a store to me. So for that condition guys, we have to actually write import again and get our store from there. So I write import store from our /redux folder. After get my store guys, my application will work fine, and now it's time for me to get the data done. Before I go there guys, let's try to see how exactly my UI till now looks like. If I'm able to see my UI with something guys, I should be able to see that everything is working fine. Otherwise I have to look for the errors. As of now guys, there is nothing on the screen. Let's try to see what actually errors we are getting, and just do click on inspect. So when I click on the inspect guys, I might see that console has some errors, right? So let's check it out guys. Is there any error in the console? So guys, we can see for me as of now, there's no errors on the console, so everything looks good to me, right? Now let's go back to our VS Code and let's move ahead what exactly you have to do follow for the next. So coming to my VS Code, now guys, if I do my app.js file, the app.js file symbol says I have to write something, right? And guys, now it's my time to get the data, right? So I need to get the state, or get the state from store. Okay, so guys, when I need to get the state from store, what I would do is like I have to go and do use of one thing, that is use selector hook. So when I say use selector hook, it takes something, a state, and returns whatever need you have. I say I need a state dot value. So the state dot value that I'm taking here guys, why I'm taking this thing, because actually in my reducer.js file, the initial state that I'm making is actually the variable value. And that's an object type. So guys, you can see very clearly there's an object type. So I do something about it guys. I write something const, I write this curly brackets, and that makes it destructuring. I simply write a value. Guys, when I write a value here, I can simply write my h1 tag, and this simply show me the valuable value. So if I get 0 on my UI guys, it means that everything is working fine as of now. Let's try to see whether actually it looks 1 or not, or 0. So guys, if I look into my UI, if I get 0 guys, I might say that everything is working fine. Otherwise something is wrong. Okay, so as of now guys, I can't see. Might be. Let's have a look with my elements and see what exactly I have till now. So if I go to my elements guys, in the div of id root, I can see h1 tag. That works fine, we can see, right? So h1 tag is coming up here. Let's try to play around with the thing guys. I can see the variable values are coming up and the default value is 0. That's why I'm not able to see. So let's try to make it something a number of 10. Guys, if I make it 10, can I see the 10 printed here? So I can see guys, I'm trying my best to get the 10, but it is not getting printed. So what's the error? What is the issue with our data? So guys, to rectify this thing, what exactly is wrong with my data? I can see guys, there's nothing on the console. That's the reason that I need to see very clearly what exactly is wrong, right? Now guys, if I go to my VS Code and see what exactly is wrong with my code, let's try to identify. Now guys, I can see very clearly default I'm returning a state from here, and the return I'm simply passing the value as equals to 10. If I go to my app.js file guys, I can see that I'm trying to get the value from here, right? If I see the value is returning from here, this value is actually not the part I required. Guys, remember this thing is quite easy to understand that I'm passing the value with an object type, and guys, if I return the object property, I cannot do a destructure. And the simple thing guys that I need is actually the value is coming up with the simple variable, so I can write it like this thing. Guys, when I write this way, you will see somewhere on the console what exactly I want. And what I want is guys, you can see that I can print it 10 on the my application UI. That's what guys I need to see. So everything looks good, there's no error, but I was not able to get value. That was undefined by default, and undefined never gets printed. So let's go to my VS Code and just play around with the thing now, the next part. So coming to my VS Code guys, what I need, I have to increment my variable value and decrement my variable value by 1 first of all, right? So guys, for this case, I want to play around with some buttons here. So I will create a button here that is saying to give or go with plus sign, and one button I require for my minus sign so that I can decrement and increment the value automatically. Coming up here guys, I need this to be wrapped with my div, so I create a div, right? A div tag will cover up these two things, two buttons, and one property that I have a h1 tag. Now if I look into my simple thing guys, I just need to play around with this small part here. So I will write about my small kind of CSS that might be easy for you to understand. So I write display flex, and guys, after writing my display flex, I want to write simple. So I write my flex direction, and guys, I can play around with two values. One is row, one is column, right? So if I use row and if I use column, I can use this one. So as of now, guys, I want to use row. So guys, when I use row, I can see that it will come in a row. And guys, I also need a gap, so I can write here gap of something. Let me write a 20 pixels gap. And this is a small thing guys that I want to play around with my variables. So if guys, if I want to see this thing, I can show you an example on my UI how exactly it looks on the UI. So you can see the UI looks something like this. Alright, so we have plus button, we have minus button. So guys, if we can click on plus and minus, the value should get increment or decrement clicking on the button itself. Right, so let's see how exactly the things works now. So coming to my code, and the code pretty looks like this thing as of now. So guys, when I click on the button plus, I should increment the value, right? And guys, here I am going to write on click increase, and guys, for the same thing guys, I will write on click for my decrease. So I will write decrease. Now guys, when I write this kind of function, I hope so that you should know that the function cannot be called here, right? So it's a pretty small thing guys to understand. So we have to just write const increase and decrease function. Okay, and const decrease as well. So guys, when I do increase and decrease, what I have to do is that I just need to see whether it actually works or not. So I say increase, right? So if it works, guys, I will simply say yes, it is working. If it doesn't work, I have to do update small thing here. But guys, as of now, I can see that I have to see some kind of errors coming up here. Just a minute. So guys, the function is not defined yet. So let me just make a little change with my code. So the function decrease was missing. So let me just try decrease. Okay, guys, when I click on this plus button, I should see an alert box. Guys, when I click on this thing, you can see increase, right? That works totally fine. Now going back to my VS Code, guys, the VS Code should update my UI, right, with my increment value. And guys, to do that thing, I have to do dispatch an action. And guys, I hope the action name is increase. Okay, so this is my action, guys, that I have to actually do is that that's what I need as of now. So guys, for this case, what I have to do is I have to write dispatch. But guys, when I write dispatch, this use dispatch is the hook that I require. Okay, so this use dispatch is the hook, guys. So I for this thing I can write here for dispatching actions. We need this hook, guys, and this hook returns one function to you, and I name it as dispatch. You can name it anything, guys, but most of the time you will find internet with this name only, dispatch. So I dispatch an action that is actually increase. So guys, I for write this thing increase and I call this function. And this small change, guys, I actually made here because the increase should come from my uh, action. And guys, for me, the increase is actually function name. So I write increase, or we can say increase handler. Okay, just to make my variable function different from the action functions. That's what I'm writing here, increase decrease handler. So guys, now this increase function should come from actions. So I'm looking for this should come from actions, guys. So for this thing, I have to write some import from dot slash redux slash actions. Guys, till now I want to clock out increase and I need to work out decrease. Now, guys, when I do this thing, you can see that in the dispatch I'm increasing this thing. The same thing, guys, I will do and copy paste. Nothing else, nothing much I have to think over. Right, and looks like this thing. It just has to change the function name, decrease. That's all. Now, guys, if I update this thing and if I look into my browser window, how exactly this looks like, let's have a look there. Let's go Control Shift R. Let's see what errors are there. Click on the plus, guys. I can see the value is getting incremented by 1, and click on the negative sign. I can see the value is getting decremented by 1. So guys, this is working totally fine. The thing that we require is actually working, right? Now that was my Redux application. How actually I do use selector and use dispatch, right? Guys, remember this thing. I have this is very simplest example to show you the demo about Redux. Now, can I do the same thing with my using the Reduxjs toolkit? How come I can do this thing? I hope so. It's going to be an easy one and it's going to be a nice example for you to understand. So let's see how exactly can be done. So I go to my VS Code, and guys, if I go to my VS Code, what exactly I have to do, guys, I will not do anything with my app.js file. So whatever thing I have written about my React Redux. So guys, remember this thing very clearly. What I've written for about my React Redux, I don't need to change anything. So till now, whatever I've written about React Redux, I don't need to change anything. Only the code of Redux that I have written has to be changed, right? I will update the things according to my Reduxjs toolkit, right? So guys, how exactly this works? So I made a folder with Redux. Now guys, I want to create another folder with the name Redux toolkit, right? So for you to understand easy. So guys, in my Redux, what I made, guys, I hope so we can remember. In my Redux, guys, we actually made one thing, store. We made one reducer. We made one actions, right? So guys, in the case of Redux toolkit, we don't need to. So that boilerplate that I was creating, I don't need to create that boilerplate now. That's what my Redux toolkit says, right? All right, let's try to see how understand this thing, how exactly this works. So guys, into my Redux toolkit folder, I want to create one file with the name store.js. I'm going to create one more file into this thing, guys, that is reducer.js. Okay, now guys, into my reducer.js, I want to use something, guys, and let me tell you, this is looking pretty different from the way that we write in Redux. Why? Because that is different from the Redux.js, right? It is now Redux.js toolkit. Guys, whenever we say talking about toolkit, is actually much better than the things, right? So guys, before we were using something reducer, right? Now I'm going to use something my Redux.js toolkit, right? So guys, if I use this thing, I have to do install this package as well. So guys, before I do play around with it, I have to write npm install and this thing. Okay, so I simply take it, copy, and do a command and just do npm install. So guys, npm Redux.js toolkit, that's what I have to do install first of all. And guys, let's check the packages and file till now. So we have installed Redux.js, React Redux, React DOM, and React. Now it's for me to create one more entry here, that is your Redux.js toolkit. Guys, remember this thing, we have something, this thing coming up from the Redux side only. So both the websites help you to understand more the things. So I can see Redux.js toolkit has been installed. It's my time to now look and play around this thing. So guys, for this thing, we have one function name I use slice. Okay, so we simply say import from my @redux toolkit. And guys, we have something. Let's see, guys, it says use slice. Okay, all right, it's not coming up here. I don't know why. Guys, sorry for this thing. I'm writing here use slice. I'm out writing use slice. Actually, it is not use, it's a create slice. Sorry for remembering the hooks here. Sorry for that. So guys, when I say create slice, I don't think so that what it does, but I have to just do something about it, right? So let me just write slice here. Okay, and just see, guys, what the create slice takes as an input and what it returns. The create slice function takes an options, the create slice options. I say okay, say reducer, right? And guys, at the end it says slice, any slice can reducers. It's function that accepts initial state. It says that I accept initial state, an object full of reducer functions, and a slice name, and automatically generates an action, creates an action types that correspond to that reducer and state. It takes automatically, guys. It creates an action automatically from your side. You don't need to, right? So I don't know exactly what it means to me, but actually, what I understood from this thing is that a function that accepts an initial state. Somewhere I have to play around with initial state here, an object full of reducer functions. So guys, we have to play around with some function that how to update my state, and a slice name we have to pass. And at the end, guys, it automatically generates an actions creators and action types that corresponds to the reducer and state. Yeah, might be it looks easy to understand, but guys, let's try to see how exactly I have to do. I do a control space, guys. It says give me the initial state value. I will take the same example, guys. We have a variable value with equals to 0 as a default value. I hope that was 10 actually. Guys, after doing this thing, I do again control space. It says what the name you want to give. I say, okay, I want to give a name as reducer, right? Or you can give it a counter. And guys, what next I have to do is it say, okay, give me reducers, right? Guys, when I say reducers, it says that you have to give me something reducers. And guys, in that case, I have to pass bunch of things. Guys, what exactly to pass in reducer, guys? I can write increment or increase. What the increase does, guys, it says you have to pass some functions here. I say okay, so what the increase does is actually it takes the state. I simply say okay, it returns the same state plus state value equals to state dot value plus 1. So guys, that's what I'm trying to write here from here, right? I hope you can do this easily, right? If you think that, yeah, Kuldeep, we can remove this curly bracket and we can remove that return keyword, that's up to you, no issues, right? If you know JavaScript, guys, you can remove these things. I preferably say that yes, we should remove these things. So I take this whole thing like this particular stuff, wrap it, and remove that return keyword, remove that curly bracket, remove this curly bracket, and makes sense to me. I should write decrease as well, guys. So let me just write decrease here. All right, so I just forgot one comma. That's what I need. And guys, if I talk about this increase and decrease, we can play around. Easy, no issues. Okay, that's all, guys, what I need here. Guys, as mentioned by slice only, that it returns something, right? So let me just write counter slice here or something counter. So what it does actually, guys, I have to just talk about this thing. So guys, it say that it returns something to you. I say increase. I say I decrease. But from where? Guys, from where? I should write here counter dot. Let me just try to get something, guys. Okay, let me just write here counter dot and actions. Guys, I really don't know what actually this means to me. So before I do this whole stuff, guys, I think that we should try to see what exactly the counter dot action returns, right? So if I write here console.log of the counter dot actions, will something will understand here. And also, guys, it simply says return to me one thing, right? I can see that I'm writing this cons, right? I have to export this thing. So I export this things, right? I also need to export my default thing, that is my reducer, that let it be here with a counter dot reducer. Okay, I hope this looks pretty different to see, but guys, yes, it has to be done like this thing only. So this is the way. I don't need to create any action from my side. I hope it makes sense, right? So how come the actions are coming up here, guys? Because you are mentioning the function name, right? Variable name. So this is your actions, right? So we'll try to see how exactly this works. All right. So nothing is wrong till now. And guys, our store, right? Guys, how the things are going to be changed here. So as you can see, I can say create slice. So guys, what the function name I should use with my store? Again, I write import, write curly brackets here, and write from Redux Toolkit. All right, and let's try to see, guys, what the function name I require from me to create a store. You can see multiple things, guys. The thing is, I want to create a store. So, guys, what exactly I need is something that you can see very clearly. Do I need to create a store? And I write create. So, guys, if I write s here, you can see we have create slice, create store. This method is here, right? But, guys, do I have to write this method only? Think about it and let me know. So I hope so that it's pretty easy, guys. Now I should not write the create store as mentioned, right? It was coming from my Redux, so I got write something here. The function name is configure store. Now, guys, when I say configure store, that's what I have to update now. So, guys, what the configure store does, guys, we simply call this store configure store. The configure store takes something. You can see options, and guys, in this option, guys, I have to pass something, right? So you can see the store configuration of friendly abstraction over the standard Redux, right? Create store function. All right, I don't know what exactly this means, guys, so we have to pass reducers here. Okay, before I write this whole thing, guys, let me give an example of the same thing from my browser window. You can see that already the React Redux or this Reduxjs toolkit is giving an example to you from the React website. I can search for Redux toolkit. Let's go here, and you can see example about it, right? Go to get started, and you can just look for your user guide here. And guys, when I click on this user guide, I can see a bunch of options coming up, store startup, right? Guys, till now we were playing about this thing. It says every Redux app needs to configure and recreate a Redux store. That's what, guys, I'm trying to right now do, right? There are multiple things that I don't need to understand. I just need to understand this word only, that is configure store, right? The configure store is my only one option that I have to understand. That's all what I need, guys. So I will need to do this thing, and guys, there are multiple options that I can write about it here. There's a quick start, right? There's a user guide, so you can have multiple options from here, right? Just read about it here, guys. You can see till now it's just small part that we are looking for is the configure store, right? That is coming from my Reduxjs toolkit. Configure store takes a reducer as a key, and for that key, guys, we have to pass some values. That's what I want to teach you later, right? So coming up here, let's go to my VS Code and see what I have to do. The reducer said that, guys, you have to pass a key value here. It has an object now because, guys, I have to write something. So I write counter, and guys, for that counter, I want to write something that is coming from my counter. And guys, from where I can see my counter, it is coming from my one file. I write here import. I write here dot slash reducer, and guys, I just name it as a counter. And guys, when I don't write anything as a key value, it is taking the key as a counter and the value as a counter. So this is again the same thing. So that's what I'm not writing it here, right? It's up to you if you want to write it like this. So I probably never write it because I know JavaScript, so I know this thing. Simple, right? Guys, after writing this thing, we can simply write export default. So the configure store returns a store to me. That's what I'm writing from my particular stuff. That's up to you how you want to write it. So I just do export here from my side. I'm good to go. Now, guys, the thing is it gonna work or not? Let's try to see, right? And guys, before this thing, I'm not using this thing anywhere. My Redux toolkit is not being used by me as of now. So if I look into my application, the previous application, how exactly I have did with my Redux. So let's have a look over it actually first of all. So guys, when I look into my application of this Redux, right, and the Redux, right, and when I'm coming up here, guys, you can see that I have one options here, right, light out this all stuff here, right. There are multiple things, right. Now when I play around with Redux, I have one dev tools. So I simply search for Google, and guys, I simply search for Google to get me one dev tool, that is Redux dev tools. That's especially, guys, what I wanted to do is that Redux dev tools. And guys, it has some extension from the Chrome. So I go here, it simply says that you want to install this extension. I say yes because I want to use it. Simple, right? So I want to use this application and simply click on add to Chrome. I click on that, guys, add to Chrome. It says okay, add extension. I say yes. It will do download and install this thing. After do that thing, guys, you can see my extension will be there for sure, right? Now to get that extension work for me, I just need to close this one actually first of now, right? I close this thing, guys. Make sure that you close this developer tools. And guys, make sure that your thing is working. So I simply ping it here. Again, I do inspect. I do inspect here. After doing an inspect, guys, now I can see somewhere into my this thing, guys. I might see somewhere that my Redux. But guys, I'm looking for something. My application should come up here, right? So you can see till now my application Redux is not coming up. So guys, where is my Redux dev tools? Again, trying it out, and it says something to me, right? It says has access to this site, networking fine. I have this thing, right? If I click here, guys, it simply opens this thing, and that is not as of my business. I go to inspect again, and I hope so my Redux step tools should come up here, right? I'm looking for my thing, guys. It's not coming up. You can see that I look for this thing, it should come up, right? So what is wrong with my application? All right. So coming up here, guys. Now still, guys, I can't see anything here, right? You can see states are equal, right? But what is the state, guys? I hope so that we managed to have one variable value. I'm not able to see that variable value here any in any case, right? I don't know what exactly this says to me. The state is actually saying undefined. So guys, it means to me that my Redux is not able to understand what exactly the state I have managed. All right, that's pretty awesome for me to not getting here, right? And let's try to see how exactly I can do this thing by using my VS Code. I'm coming to a VS Code here, guys, and let's try to understand this thing now. So till now, guys, everything that I was using is about Redux. Now it's my time to use Redux Toolkit. So I want to get rid of this Redux, right? I want to use Redux Toolkit. So I would simply go to one file that is main.jsx because everything that my store is coming from my only one file with the name as the store. That store is coming from my Redux. I want to update this Redux to my Redux Toolkit. That's what I need. I simply say Redux, please get over from me. I want to add this toolkit. I want from that toolkit. I want to use store only. I don't know what the store contain, guys. Let's just see console.log the store. right? So guys, if I see something about my store, I hope so it will be easy for you to understand as well. Going to the browser and see what exactly the store contains. Do we get something about the store, guys? I try to see something, I can see there's no value. Now if I go to my inspect, if I go to my console, try to figure out what exactly is wrong here. I hope so we can see something, an object is printed here, guys. I can see actions. Can you see? I hope so it's quite visible to you. Guys, I can see somewhere the actions are here, right? I did not made anything from my side. It automatically came up here, guys. You can see actions. I have one action with the name decrease. I have one action with the name increase. I have case reducers. You can see case reduce increase function, decrease function. I have get initial state. There's one function. I have a name as a counter. I have a reducer here. It means these things are working fine. Guys, let me tell you one interesting part about Redux Toolkit is that if I go to my Redux now, if I go to my Redux now, can you see the value is coming up here with the 10? Yes, I hope so you're feeling happy about it. The thing is, guys, I don't need to do anything. That's why it is a toolkit. Whatever things I need to do from my Redux, right? Because when I was using the Redux, I had to actually set up a lot of stuff about my boilerplate and create that action, that store, this reducer. Now I don't need. I don't need it, right? That's what I want to say, right? That's why the toolkit is being used by most of the people nowadays because it feels good. No boilerplate, no need to set up the Redux setup, right? Because automatically the DevTools will work fine because this is pre-configured by this Redux toolkit. All right, now guys, our time is like Kuldeep. Still, I'm not getting the value. The reason is very clearly, guys, because actually now I'm maintaining the value inside a variable counter. You can see the counter, right? So previously it was actually just a state. Now it is the actually counter contains a state. So that's what I have to do update with my application now. Just small thing change and it will work totally fine. Go to your VS Code. Just look for your app.js file. You can see the app.js file is actually taking the data from the store.value and that is now coming from state.counter.value. Now guys, when I update this thing, if I go to my browser, can you see the variable values coming up there or not? I hope so. You can see 10 is printed there for sure, guys. Now that's the beauty of Redux Toolkit, right? Now clicking on the plus sign, I can see that my increase is actually working. You can see my increase is working. I click on the minus sign, guys. I can see decrease is also working. Plus sign, minus sign, things are working, but guys, I'm not able to see the value change. So what is wrong with the value change? Why I'm not able to see the values change? All right. So guys, when I click on the increase, you can see that actually the value is still the same. When I click on the decrease, the value is still the same. What is wrong with my state? So guys, let's try to see the difference here as well. It says states are equal. So did I make some mistake in my application? Guys, let's try to see, and I hope so you can find that small mistake with the upper application. Go into VS Code again, and guys, when I say VS Code, let's try to see if you are able to find that error or not. Guys, going to my Redux Toolkit folder in the store, nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong. And the reducer, find out what is the issue. What is the issue, guys? Any issue, guys, that you are facing from here? I hope so, guys. You can easily find it out, guys. It's quite easy to understand. Quite easy. I hope so. Yeah, you need time. That's fine. You can stop the video and you can pause and you can see. All right. I hope so. You took time about it and let me try to give the answer about it. Right. The thing is, guys, everything looks good. Nothing is wrong. The only issue that I am doing is that actually the increase decrease are coming from my Redux sections. Right. And that should not come from a Redux section. They should come from which file? They should come from my Redux toolkit and from my reducer because that is actually named there. Now, are you sure that this is gonna work? I hope so, guys. You can count on this thing from your side only that this Kuldeep this is gonna work. Go into the browser, guys. What do you think? Will it work? I say yes. What about you? Let's click on the plus. It works fine. Click on the minus. It works fine. Wow, great, Kuldeep. Right? But guys, when I click on the negative sign, how exact this is getting increased? Because that's just a small mistake as we have made, nothing else, right? Because in my code, guys, I've written the plus sign. That's why it is an increase only, nothing wrong. I hope so, guys. You can play around with the thing, guys. You can update your VS Code file with something that the Redux toolkit, Redux reducer. You can just update the plus to minus sign with the decrease, so it will work totally fine, no issues. I hope so, guys. You can do rectify this thing very easily. Plus sign works fine. Negative sign works totally fine. Right, that's what guys the Redux toolkit says to me. Guys, I will come back with my asynchronous task, how I can do that asynchronous task by using the Redux toolkit. So guys, till then, see you.